Welcome to True Crime Cases, where we delve into the darkest corners of human nature. Today's episode unravels a tale of stepson's secret gay love affair with stepbrother ends in grisly murder. The Lawson family, once considered pillars of the community, found themselves at the center of a gruesome murder that would shock residents and challenge their perceptions of family, love, and acceptance. The Lawson household consisted of Robert Lawson, 48, successful real estate developer known for his charismatic personality and philanthropic effort. His second wife, Melissa Lawson, 42, a popular yoga instructor beloved by her students for her gentle demeanor and positive energy. Robert's son from his first marriage, Tyler Lawson, 22, a recent graduate from the University of California, Berkeley with a degree in computer science. And Melissa's son from her previous marriage, Billy Morgan, 20, a sophomore at Diablo Valley College studying art and photography. To the outside world, they appeared to be the perfect blended family, affluent, attractive, and well-adjusted. Their home at 157 Oak Grove Avenue in the upscale Woodlands neighborhood was often the envy of neighbors, its perfectly manicured lawn and tasteful decor. The Lawsons were fixtures at community events, always ready with a smile and a generous donation to local causes. However, beneath the surface of this seemingly idyllic family life lurked dark secrets and forbidden desires that would ultimately lead to tragedy. On the morning of June 15, 2023, the peaceful neighborhood of Woodlands was awakened by the sound of sirens. Police cars and ambulances raced down the tree-lined streets, converging on the Lawson residence. Neighbors gathered on their lawns, watching in disbelief, as crime scene tape was stretched across the property they had once admired. Detective Sarah Chen, a 15-year veteran of the Walnut Creek Police Department, arrived at the scene, her face grim as she surveyed the chaos unfolding before her. At 39, Detective Chen had seen her fair share of crime scenes. Something about this one made her stomach churn with unease. As she approached the house, she was met by Officer Michael Rodriguez, a rookie cop whose pale face betrayed his shock at what he had witnessed inside. "It's bad, Detective," he said, his voice low and strained. "Really bad." Inside the home, in what was once a tastefully decorated living room, lay the body of Tyler Lawson. The scene was one of unimaginable violence. Blood spattered the white walls and soaked into the plush beige carpet. Tyler's body was mutilated almost beyond recognition, bearing multiple stab wounds and signs of a fierce struggle. The once handsome young man, known for his quiet intelligence and kind smile, was now a testament to the depths of human brutality. As the forensics team worked methodically to process the scene, Detective Chen began piecing together the events that led to this brutal crime. The shock of the discovery reverberated through the community, leaving residents struggling to comprehend how such violence could occur in their peaceful enclave. The investigation quickly focused on the family dynamics within the Lawson household. Interviews with neighbors and friends painted a picture of a family that seemed to have it all. Robert Lawson was described as a driven businessman with a Midas touch, turning failing properties into gold mines. His contributions to local charities and his involvement in community development projects had made him a respected figure in Walnut Creek. Melissa Lawson had built a devoted following at her yoga studio, Serenity Now, located in downtown Walnut Creek. Her students praised her ability to create a calming atmosphere and her genuine interest in their well-being. She was often seen around town greeting people with a warm smile and a kind word. Tyler, the victim, was remembered as a quiet but friendly young man who had recently moved back home after graduating from UC Berkeley. Friends described him as intelligent and ambitious, with plans to join a tech startup in Silicon Valley. He was known for his passion for coding and his dream of developing apps that could make a positive impact on society. Billy Morgan, Tyler's stepbrother, was a sophomore at Diablo Valley College, studying art and photography. He was known for his creative talent and easygoing nature, often seen around town with his camera, capturing the beauty of Walnut Creek. His photographs of local landmarks and nature scenes had gained him a following on social media, and he had recently been commissioned to create a series of prints for the Walnut Creek Library. As Detective Chen delved deeper into the family's history, She uncovered a web of secrets and lies that had been carefully hidden from public view. Friends and acquaintances began to reveal small inconsistencies in the family's perfect image. Hushed arguments overheard at community events, tension observed during family outings, and subtle changes in behavior over the past few months. Sarah Martinez, a neighbor who lived across the street from the Lawsons, recalled an incident from a few weeks before the murder. "I was out walking my dog late one night," she told Detective Chen. "I saw Tyler and Billy in the driveway. They seemed to be arguing about something. Tyler looked upset, and Billy was trying to calm him down. I thought it was strange because they usually got along so well." Another neighbor, elderly Mr. Thompson, mentioned seeing unfamiliar cars parked outside the Lawson home at odd hours. "I'm a light sleeper," explained. "I often noticed a blue sedan parked down the street late at night. Someone would get out and walk towards the Lawson house, always when the parents' cars were gone." These small details began to paint a picture of a household that was not as harmonious as it appeared on the surface. Detective Chen and her team started to dig deeper into the private lives of the Lawson family members, looking for any clues that might shed light on the brutal murder of Tyler. The breakthrough in the case came when detectives discovered Tyler's private journal, hidden in a locked drawer in his bedroom. The contents of the journal sent shockwaves through the investigation team. In heartfelt and often anguished entries, Tyler detailed the secret romantic relationship with his stepbrother Billy. The journal entries revealed a love affair that had begun shortly after their parents' marriage when Tyler was 20 and Billy was 18. What started as a close friendship born of their new family situation had blossomed into a passionate and forbidden romance. Tyler wrote of stolen moments, secret rendezvous, and the constant fear of discovery. One entry, dated about 6 months before the murder, read, "E and I found a hidden spot in the hills today. The view of the bay was incredible. For a moment I could pretend we were just two normal people in love, not stepbrothers hiding a terrible secret. Why does something that feels so right have to be so wrong?" As investigators read through the journal, they were struck by the raw emotion and internal conflict Tyler experienced. He wrote of the joy and excitement of finding love, juxtaposed with the guilt and shame of engaging in a relationship that society, and certainly their family, would deem unacceptable. The entries became increasingly anxious in the weeks leading up to Tyler's death, hinting at a growing tension between the stepbrothers. An entry from just 2 weeks before the murder was particularly troubling. "E is becoming possessive. He doesn't understand that we can't go on like this forever. I tried to talk to him about ending things, but he got so angry. I've never seen him like that before. I'm scared of what might happen if I push him too far." Detective Chen felt a mix of empathy and unease as she read Tyler's private thoughts. The young man's struggle with his identity and the fear of rejection from his family was palpable in every word. It was clear that the weight of this secret had been taking a toll on both Tyler and Billy. The investigation took a darker turn when forensic evidence from the crime scene was processed. DNA found under Tyler's fingernails matched Billy's profile, suggesting a violent confrontation between the stepbrothers. Additionally, a bloody fingerprint found on a shattered vase in the living room was identified as Billy's. With this evidence in hand, Detective Chen ordered an APB on Billy Morgan, who had been missing since the discovery of Tyler's body. The once quiet community of Walnut Creek was now on high alert, with residents locking their doors and eyeing strangers with suspicion. Local news stations ran constant updates on the case, with reporters camped outside the Lawson home and the police station. The shocking details of the secret relationship between the stepbrothers began to leak to the press, adding a salacious element to an already sensational case. The manhunt for Billy lasted 3 tense days. Liars with his photo were plastered across town, from the upscale boutiques of Broadway Plaza to the hiking trails of Mount Diablo State. Police searched abandoned buildings, combed through local parks, and followed up on dozens of reported sightings. On the evening of June 18, a breakthrough came when a motel clerk in Sacramento recognized Billy from the news report. The clerk, Maria Gonzalez, had noticed a young man matching Billy's description checking in under a false name. she discreetly called the police, setting in motion the final act of this tragic case. Within hours, a SWAT team had surrounded the rundown motel just off the highway. As negotiators attempted to make contact with Billy, tension built among the assembled law enforcement officers and the gathering crowd of onlookers and media. Finally, after a tense standoff that lasted nearly 2 hours, the decision was made to breach the room. When police burst in, they found Billy huddled in a corner, disheveled and disoriented. The young man who had once been known for his artistic sensitivity now looked hollow-eyed and broken. As Billy was brought back to Walnut Creek for questioning, the community struggled to reconcile the image of the quiet, creative young man they thought they knew with the alleged killer now in custody. Friends and classmates expressed disbelief, unable to imagine Billy capable of such violence. Lisa Chen, Billy's art professor at Diablo Valley College, spoke to reporters outside the campus. "Billy was one of my most promising students," she said, her voice shaking with emotion. "He had a unique vision and a gentle soul. I can't believe he would be capable of something like this. There must be more to the case." The interrogation of Billy Morgan was a difficult and emotionally charged process. Detective Chen, known for her empathetic yet persistent approach, spent hours with the young man, slowly piecing together the events that led to that fateful night. Through tears and long silences, Billy confessed to killing Tyler. He spoke of a relationship that had spiraled out of control, of love turning to obsession and fear. In the weeks leading up to the murder, Tyler had begun to pull away, talking about ending their relationship and coming clean to their parent. Billy, terrified of losing Tyler and facing the consequences of their secret, had become increasingly unstable. "I couldn't bear the thought of losing him," Billy said, his voice barely above a whisper. "He was everything to me. When he said he wanted to end things, I just snapped." The night of the murder, Billy claimed, was supposed to be a final plea to keep their relationship going. But when Tyler remained adamant about ending things, something in Billy broke. In a rage fueled by fear, rejection, and years of pent-up emotion, he attacked Tyler with a kitchen knife. As the details of the case became public, the community of Walnut Creek found itself divided. Some expressed sympathy for the young men, seeing them as victims of societal pressure and internalized shame. Others condemned their actions, unable to look past the brutality of the crime. Local LGBTQ+ organizations held vigils for Tyler and called for greater support and acceptance for queer youth. Rebecca Hoffman, director of the Walnut Creek LGBTQ+ Center, spoke at one such event. "This tragedy highlights the urgent need for safe spaces and support systems for LGBTQ+ individuals, especially in communities where they may feel isolated or afraid to be themselves," she said to a crowd gathered in Civic Park. The impact on Robert and Melissa Lawson was devastating. The couple, who had been unaware of the relationship between their sons, were thrust into a nightmare they could never have imagined. Robert, once a pillar of strength in the community, became a shell of his former self. He withdrew from his business dealings and charitable work, unable to face the public scrutiny. Melissa sought solace in the spirituality she had long practiced, spending hours in meditation and prayer. Friends reported seeing her wandering the paths of the Ruth Bancroft Garden, place she had once loved to visit with her yoga students, now a refuge from the chaos that had engulfed her life. The trial of Billy Morgan became a media sensation, drawing attention far beyond the borders of Walnut. As details of the secret relationship and the tragic outcome were laid bare in court, it sparked heated debates about acceptance, family dynamics, and the pressures faced by LGBTQ+ youth. The courtroom at the Wakefield Taylor Courthouse in nearby Martinez was packed each day of the trial. Reporters from national news outlets jostled for space with local residents, all eager to hear every detail of the case had shocked their community. Billy's defense team, led by prominent Bay Area attorney Jonathan Reeves, argued that he had been in a state of extreme emotional distress, pushed to the brink by years of hiding his true self and the fear of losing the person he loved. They painted a picture of a young man failed by society and his family, who had no healthy outlets for his feelings. "Billy Morgan is not a cold-blooded killer," Reeves argued in his opening statement. He is a young man who is trapped in an impossible situation, torn between his love for Tyler and the fear of rejection from his family and society. Tragedy that unfolded is a result of that pressure, not of malice or premeditation. The defense called several expert witnesses, including Dr. Amelia Forrester, psychologist specializing in LGBTQ+ youth issues. Dr. Forrester testified about the psychological trauma often experienced by young people forced to hide their sexual orientation, especially in family environments that they perceive as unaccepting. The constant stress of hiding one's true self can lead to severe emotional and psychological distress, Dr. Forrester explained to the jury. In some cases, this can result in impulsive and destructive behavior, especially when the individual feels threatened or cornered. The prosecution, led by the formidable District Attorney Elena Rodriguez, focused on the brutality of the crime. They argued that regardless of the circumstances, Billy's actions were those of a cold-blooded killer who had chosen to end a life, rather than face the consequences of his action. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Rodriguez said in her closing argument, while we can sympathize with the struggles Billy Morgan may have faced, we cannot excuse the horrific act he committed. Tyler Lawson was brutally murdered, his life cut short by someone he trusted and loved. This was not a crime of passion, but a deliberate act of violence. The prosecution presented forensic evidence, including the murder weapon, the kitchen knife found hidden in Billy's room, and DNA evidence linking him to the crime scene. They also called witnesses who testified to Billy's increasingly erratic behavior in the weeks leading up to the murder. As the trial progressed, courtroom became a stage for expert testimonies on psychology, sexuality, and family dynamic. The hidden pressures faced by LGBTQ+ individuals in conservative or unaccepting environments were brought to light, challenging the community to confront its own biases and shortcomings. The jury deliberated for 5 days before reaching a verdict. In a packed courtroom with Robert and Melissa Lawson sitting stoically in the front row, Billy Morgan was found guilty of second-degree murder. The judge, taking into account the unique circumstances of the case, sentenced him to 20 years to life in prison. As the verdict was read, collective gasp rippled through the courtroom. Billy, pale and thin from his time in custody, showed little emotion as he was led away. Robert Lawson buried his face in his hands, while Melissa stared straight ahead, tears streaming down her face. Outside the courthouse, reactions were mixed. Supporters of Billy held signs calling for leniency and understanding, while others expressed relief that justice had been served for Tyler. Case had clearly touched a nerve in the community, forcing many to confront uncomfortable truths about acceptance, family, and the secrets that can fester beneath a seemingly perfect surface. In the months following the trial, Walnut Creek began the slow process of healing. Support groups for LGBTQ+ youth and their families sprung up, and the local high school implemented new programs to promote acceptance and provide resources for struggling students. The Walnut Creek Library hosted a series of community forums on LGBTQ+ issues, bringing in speakers from organizations like PFLAG and the Trevor Project. These events were well attended, with many residents expressing a desire to learn and understand more about the challenges faced by LGBTQ+ individuals in their community. Robert and Melissa Lawson, unable to bear the painful memories associated with their home, sold the property and moved away from Walnut Creek. They retreated from public life, choosing to grieve and attempt to rebuild their shattered lives away from the spotlight. Tragedy prompted soul-searching within the community. Many residents, shocked by the realization that such pain and struggle could exist unnoticed among them, committed themselves to fostering a more open and accepting environment. Local churches and community organizations held forums to discuss inclusivity and support for LGBTQ+ individuals. Even traditionally conservative congregations began to grapple with these issues. Recognizing the need for compassion and understanding, the Walnut Creek City Council passed resolutions affirming the town's commitment to equality and launched initiatives to provide resources for struggling youth. Mayor Sandra Lee spearheaded a task force to address LGBTQ+ issues in the community, bringing together educators, mental health professionals, and community leaders to develop actionable strategies for creating a more inclusive environment. As the years passed, the case of Tyler Lawson and Billy Morgan became a cautionary tale, one that was shared in schools and community centers as a stark reminder of the consequences of intolerance and the importance of acceptance, open communication. The once idyllic street where the Lawson family had lived became a somber attraction, with visitors occasionally driving by to glimpse the site where tragedy had struck. For longtime residents, it served as a constant reminder of how quickly life can change and how little we sometimes know about our neighbors. Billy Morgan's life in prison was one of reflection and regret. He engaged in therapy and support groups, grappling with the enormity of his actions and the pain he had caused. In a twist of fate, he found purpose in sharing his case with other incarcerated LGBTQ+ individuals, hoping that his tragic experience could help prevent others from making similar mistakes. 5 years into his sentence, Billy began working with a prison outreach program, speaking to at-risk youth about the dangers of keeping secrets and the importance of seeking help when struggling with identity issues. His case, though painful, became a powerful tool for education and prevention. Detective Sarah Chen, deeply affected by the case, became an advocate for better training in law enforcement to deal with LGBTQ+ issues. She spoke at conferences and police academies, stressing the importance of empathy and understanding in police work. "We need to look beyond the surface," Chen would tell her audience of fellow officers. "Sometimes the real crime is the silence and fear that forces people to hide who they really are. As law enforcement, we have a responsibility to create an environment where people feel safe coming forward with their truths before tragedy strikes." The case of Tyler and Billy's ill-fated relationship and its tragic end became the subject of books, documentaries, and academic studies. It sparked important conversations about family dynamics, societal pressures, and the need for greater acceptance and support for LGBTQ+ individuals, especially in conservative or traditional communities. Dr. Amanda Reyes, a sociology professor at St. Mary's College in nearby Moraga, conducted a comprehensive study on the impact of the case on Walnut Creek and similar suburban community. Her findings, published in a widely read academic journal, highlighted the often overlooked struggles of LGBTQ+ individuals in seemingly progressive areas. "What we found," Dr. Reyes explained in an interview with the local NPR station, was that even in communities that consider themselves open-minded, there can be a significant gap between perceived acceptance and the actual experiences of LGBTQ+ individuals. The Lawson-Morgan case brought these issues to the forefront in a way that couldn't be ignored. Case also had ripple effects beyond Walnut. Other suburban communities across the country began to examine their own attitudes and policies regarding LGBTQ+ issues. School districts revised their curricula to include more comprehensive sex education and discussions about gender and sexuality. Parents groups formed to provide support and resources for families navigating these complex issues. In a poignant development, Robert Lawson, still grappling with the loss of his son and the unraveling of his family, became an unexpected advocate for LGBTQ+ rights. 3 years after the trial, he spoke publicly for the first time at a PFLAG meeting in his new hometown. "I failed my son," Robert said, his voice thick with emotion. "I created an environment where he felt he couldn't be honest with me about who he was and who he loved. I can't change the past, but I can try to prevent other families from experiencing the same tragedy." Robert's journey from grieving father to LGBTQ+ ally became a powerful narrative of transformation and redemption. He began working with organizations that support parents of LGBTQ+ children, sharing his case as a cautionary tale and a call to action for other parents to create accepting and supportive home environment. Melissa Lawson found her own path to healing through her yoga practice. She eventually opened a new studio that specifically catered to LGBTQ+ individuals and their allies, creating a safe space for people to connect with their bodies and minds without fear of judgment. "Yoga taught me about acceptance of myself and others," Melissa shared in an interview with a local magazine. "I hope that through this practice, I can help others find the peace and self-acceptance that my stepson and son never had the chance to fully embrace." As Walnut Creek moved forward, the memory of the tragedy lingered. a sobering reminder of the complexities of human emotion and the devastating consequences of hidden truth. The town that had once prided itself on its perfect image now embraced a new identity, one of compassion, understanding, and a commitment to supporting all of its residents, regardless of their difference. And years after the tragic events, Walnut Creek had transformed in many ways. The annual Pride Parade, once a small gathering, now drew thousands of participants from across the Bay Area. Rainbow flags flew proudly alongside American flags in the downtown area, a visible symbol of the town's commitment to inclusivity. The high school where Tyler and Billy had once walked the halls now boasted a thriving Gay Straight Alliance club and a comprehensive support system for LGBTQ+ students. The walls were adorned with posters promoting acceptance and providing resources for students struggling with their identity. In a touching tribute, the Walnut Creek Library dedicated a special collection of LGBTQ+ literature in Tyler's name. The Tyler Lawson Memorial Collection became a valuable resource for individuals seeking information, support, and representation in literature. The case of Tyler Lawson and Billy Morgan had become more than just a local tragedy. It had sparked a national conversation about love, acceptance, and the dangers of forcing individuals to hide their true self. Documentary filmmakers, authors, and journalists continued to revisit the case, finding new angles and perspectives that resonated with audiences across the country. Best-selling novel, loosely based on the case, Hidden Hills, became a cultural phenomenon, further spreading awareness of the issues highlighted by the tragedy. The book was eventually adapted into a critically acclaimed film, bringing the case of suburban secrets and forbidden love to an even wider audience. As the sun sets over the hills of Walnut Creek, casting long shadows across the town, community continues to grapple with the lessons learned from that fateful summer. The perfect facade may have been shattered, but in its place, a more authentic, passionate, and inclusive community slowly emerged, a lasting legacy born from the ashes of an unthinkable tragedy. Visitors to Walnut Creek today might not immediately sense the profound changes that have taken place beneath the surface of this picturesque suburb. The tree-lined streets and well-manicured lawns still exude an air of suburban tranquility. But those who know the town's history can see the subtle signs of a community forever changed. The rainbow stickers in shop windows, the diverse faces in community gatherings, and the open conversations about acceptance and identity that now take place in coffee shops and community centers. The case of Tyler Lawson and Billy Morgan serves as a stark reminder that beneath the surface of even the most picturesque communities, hidden struggles and forbidden loves can lead to unthinkable tragedy. It challenges us all to look beyond appearances, foster environments of acceptance and open communication, and to remember that love, in all its forms, should be met with understanding, rather than fear and judgment. As night falls on Walnut Creek, the lights of homes flicker on, each one potentially hiding its own secrets and struggles. But in the wake of tragedy, there is hope that these lights now shine in houses where authenticity is valued, where difficult conversations are had, and where love, in all its complex, messy, beautiful forms, is accepted and celebrated. The legacy of Tyler and Billy lives on, not in the tragic end of their case, but in the changes it inspired. A community awakened, lives transformed, and a continuing journey towards true acceptance and understanding. In the end, their case reminds us all of the power of truth, the importance of acceptance, and the enduring strength of love, even in the face of seemingly insurmountable obstacles.